Hello and welcome to Payoff Pitch Action Network's baseball betting podcast presented by BetMGM. It is Monday, May 8th. I am Sean Zerillo, joined today by BJ Cunningham, Brendan Glasheen out this week. BJ, how's it going?
It's going great, Sean. We have a wonderful 11-game card here on a beautiful Monday, and we're in the thick of the baseball season.
Yeah, approaching the 6-week mark, which is, as I mentioned before, the time where I generally dive back into the futures markets, start to trade guys off of my fantasy team, have enough of a data sample where I think we can analyze where the rest of the season is headed for some of these players who've made improvements or are showing signs of injury or decline. For today's show, we're going to break down that exciting 11-game baseball slate. But first, a reminder, last week's Payoff Pitch hit 100 episodes, and we're celebrating with a giveaway. Leave us a 5-star review and rating, and tell us why you like the show, who your favorite analyst is, obviously me, or favorite producer, producer Matt, producer David. We love them very much, but leave us a 5-star review and rating. Tell us why you like the show, who your favorite analyst is. Later this month, we will pick a winner, pick a few winners who will get to choose either an item for our Action Network store or get a 1-year subscription of the award-winning Action Network app. Really appreciate everybody listening. We really appreciate it. But leaving us a 5-star rating and review is how we're going to continue to grow this thing. So if you haven't left one yet, please do it now so you can be a part of the giveaway. Let's get into our best bets for today's slate. I'm going to start with you, BJ. Short slate. I had difficulty narrowing this one down, finding more than 4 or 5 bets for me total. So I hope you have one that you feel particularly strong about.
I do. I mean, I only have 3 bets right now, and I'm still trying to find some more. But what I do like the most on this card is the Brewers for the first 5 innings at -110. I don't really think Freddie Peralta should be as just straight pick 'em against Tony Gonsolin. So Gonsolin last season, he did overperform, but he was stellar on paper. 2.14 ERA, 0.87 WHIP, and opponents only hit 173 against him. But his expected ERA was a full run higher at 3.12, and he drastically overperformed on all of his off-speed pitches if you compare the weighted on-base average allowed to the expected weighted on-base average allowed. Now, his stuff plus and pitching plus last season was 103, which is good. It's above average, but it's not elite, which means he is due to regress somewhat, and that's kind of what you're seeing this season. I know it's only been 2 starts, but his stuff plus through those 2 starts is down to 96. Freddie Peralta this season, I mean, he's been nasty. Stuff plus of 108, pitching plus 104, which is actually a slight improvement from last season. And last season, he was a 2.7 expected ERA pitcher who dominated with his fastball and his slider, with both pitches allowing under 290 expected weighted on base average. Now, this season, his velocity is up, his stuff plus is up, and the spin rates are up on both of those pitches, which are basically the only 2 pitches that he throws, his slider and his fastball. So he's only going to get better as the season goes along. So I think the Brewers do have an advantage here in the starting pitching matchup. And the Brewers, although the Dodgers have been better against righties than the Brewers have, the Brewers are the #1 defensive team in baseball right now, plus 26 defensive runs saved. So while the Dodgers have been middle of the road. So I project the Brewers at -132 for the first 5 innings. So I like the value on them at -110.
Taking it as a encouraging sign to BJ. The moment I threw it to you to start talking about the Brewers, our guy Stuckey entered Brewers money line -105 in the Action Network app, and I literally got the notification the second you started talking. So taking that as a positive sign, but BJ likes the Brewers first 5 only to -110. My favorite bet for Monday slate, the Tigers under 7.5. The Tigers and the Guardians in Cleveland. The Guardians generally an under team. They don't hit well, and they have a decent bullpen. But both teams in the lesser split for their offense in this matchup. Tigers facing a right-handed pitcher over the past 2 seasons, 75 WRC plus, dead last in baseball. If you go back over the past 20 years or so, they rank in the bottom 5% of all offenses against right-hand pitching. They're historically bad. The Guardians, though, are not much better against lefties, 29th over the past 2 seasons, 83 WRC plus. These 2 teams both closer to league average against their better split, but in their lesser split, they both rank in the bottom 2 teams in the league. So decent pitching matchup for both pitchers, decent pitching weather for both pitchers, temperatures in the low 60s, wind blowing in around 9-10 miles an hour from right field. So I made this total around 7.2. I like the under 8 to -118. It has moved down from 8, though. You could take an under 7.5 to even money. It is actually gone past that, so I will allow you to bet it to -105, but I would go no further than 7.5 -105 on that total. Let's move on to fade the public. I've thrown out one money line, two potential totals that have been heavily bet by the public today. I don't know if BJ and I have a lean or a side on any of these necessarily, but we're still going to chat about them for a minute. In terms of the money line, 92% of bets, 89% of cash, betting the Yankees to defeat the historically bad Oakland Athletics. And then we have a couple of overs that are very public as well. 89% of the bets, 95% of the cash on Rangers Mariners over 7.5, and also 88% and 94% on Rays Orioles over 8.5. Of the three, the one that I am closest to betting against is the Orioles and Rays under 8.5. I made that total closer to 8. I'm actually going to wait to see if it'll get a little bit higher and glow up closer to 9. I have it at 8.3. The Rangers and Mariners total I have at 7.5 would probably need an under 8 at plus money. And then the Yankees and Athletics, I projected that line at minus 180. So I'd very highly doubt that that comes into range for me unless the A's get up to plus 200. So I will not be fading the public today, as I said, unless that Rays Orioles total continues to climb up and I can get an under with Shane McClanahan. BJ, those three games, anything there for you?
You know, it's funny that you said that. We obviously both project out these games. We project them very differently, but the total I have for the Rays Orioles is 8.36.
Yes, sir.
There you go. So right on with that. And then Rangers Mariners, I had 7.3. So, obviously would need, like you mentioned, under 8 at even money as well. I mean, it's the JP Sears revenge game, Sean. He obviously got traded to Oakland from the Yankees, but he has been very subpar to begin the season with Nestor Cortez in the mound. And like you mentioned, the A's historically bad, both in the bullpen, offensively. Just it's been a disaster for Oakland. So I'm with you. I'm passing on all three of those. And they get into those ranges that you mentioned, I'll be firing them.
Just want to point out very quickly, the Oakland A's starters, 7.7 ERA this season. Their bullpen, 6.7. Dead last in the league in both categories. BJ, I just want to ask, because I did bet their win total over coming into the year. I believe it at 57.5. I think it closed 59.5. Did you have a win total over on the A's as well?
I stared at it. I don't have one currently right now, but I definitely stared at the over for a long time. The thing about it is with Shintaro coming into the rotation, you thought you maybe get some improvement there, along with, even looking at last season, like JP Sears wasn't terrible. Like you could make a case that they had 2 or 3 serviceable starters, and then the bullpen, obviously injuries have taken their toll, which has made them one of the worst historically bad bullpen in baseball. But yeah, it's bad. And it's just one of those, and this happens every year with some team. Last season, it was the Reds for a long time. And now we're at a situation where every single day I just stare at the A's and I say, do I want to bet them? And usually it's like, all right, I'll do it for the first 5 innings because I don't want any piece of this bullpen right now. And it's just a disaster every single day. So,
and they've gotten a full breakout from Brent Rooker. I mean, Brent Rooker has a 1.5 season. It's not like everybody on the team is performing horribly. Esther Ruiz has actually been pretty decent. So guys who I thought could break out for them and perform well are doing it, but the pitching has been so bad, they're completely buried. So just interested to see as this team moves out of Oakland. I wouldn't be surprised if the city of Oakland comes in and locks the doors on the Coliseum and tells them to get out because they're an embarrassment to the city. And they go ahead and move.
I don't know if you saw this. They're the Oakland's offering a 32 game package for $90. That's something you offered in Double-A in Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Well, I will be making a trip out west probably at some point this season, and I may buy a full ticket package to the Oakland A's and then sell them off individually for the games I don't go to. Let's move on to our favorite underdog of the day. We have good luck around here with consensus underdogs. Anthony and I wrote a consensus underdog to a win last time I was on the pod, and BJ and I have had a couple of underdogs that were consensus dogs cash this season. We've got another one for Monday night, and it is the Washington Nationals at plus 190. BJ, tell me why we like the Nationals tonight, and I'm sure it has to do with pricing.
Yeah, I mean, it's Jake Irvin is going to be on the mound. His numbers in AAA were not good, and even in Double-A going back, it wasn't that good either. But in AAA, he did have a stuff plus of 98 and a pitching plus of 101, which is serviceable, average AAA starting pitcher. But what I believe is this line's just incredibly way too high on DeSclafani. I mean, he's been good this season, 2.13 ERA, but his expected area is getting close to 4. So he's due to regress, and the stuff plus numbers are very concerning. 91. None of his pitches are over 100. So this is just screaming of a pitcher who's going to regress at some point. And I get it. The Nationals bullpen is an absolute nightmare. I had them on Saturday night against the Diamondbacks. They teased me by scoring, 4 or 5 runs in the top of the 9th and then just completely blowing it in the bottom of the 9th. That was not fun. But the Giants bullpen has been pretty below average as well. I mean, they have an ERA over 5 right now, a walk per 9 rate over 4. Their left on base percentage is 62.5%. If it wasn't for the Oakland Athletics, that would be the worst mark in Major League Baseball. And the Giants are also 24th in defensive runs saved. So I get it. They're good against right-handed pitching, and this is a below average pitcher they're facing. But I only have the Giants at minus 157. So I think there's pretty decent value here on the Nationals at this big of a number in San Francisco.
I'm a bit higher in the Giants. I have them at minus 170, but at plus 190, there's still plenty of value to bet the Nationals here. I like them down to plus 185, which is roughly where it opened. Agree with the sentiments on Jake Irvin. I think he could be a serviceable back-end starter in the major leagues, a number 5 starter moving forward. DeSclafani has pitched well. He's beaten me a couple of times. You can throw out last year's stats. His expected metrics were north of 5.6 last year. He is a 4 ERA type of pitcher. If you go back over the past few seasons, that's roughly where his peak is settled. I think he's back there this year, but I can't really put him past, as BJ mentioned, that 4 expected ERA mark, 3.9. So putting the pitchers at those respective levels, where I view these teams relative to one another, the Giants coming into the year weren't projected to be much better than 500. The Nationals, by some projections, actually had them as high as 65, 70 wins. So there's not a massive, massive difference between the Nationals, who I view as one of the better bad teams in the league, and a team like the Giants, who I view as sort of a mid-pack team, maybe best case scenario, competing for a wild card. So this line is pretty high for me, even with the Giants at home. As I said, I like the Nationals. Bet them at close to plus 200. You can take them down to plus 185. And let's get to our final bets for Monday's slate. I do not have a ton here, to be honest with you guys. I've only fired about 5 or 6 bets total. One of them, though, that I have not mentioned, the Rockies and the Pirates over 8. Decent hitting weather in Pittsburgh today. I like Mitch Keller. I actually bet Mitch Keller for the first 5 innings. We'll get to that in 1 second. But I do have this total closer to 8.5, I believe. So I do like the over 8. I have it at 8.8, actually. So I like the over 8 up to minus 120 or 8.5 to minus 103. BJ, before I get to the rest of my bets, do you have anything on the Rockies and Pirates total?
I do have that total projected at, let's see here, 8.42. So, somewhat close of decent value. I mean, Freeland's been, he was a disaster last season, and he hasn't been that good this season as well. And I love Mitch Keller. I know him personally from my days in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. He's definitely improved a lot this season. But I'm not so sure that he's now getting into this ace type category where we can start setting totals at 8. So I agree with you there. As far as, I only have one other bet on the card today, and it's going to be the Astros Angels under 8.5 at even money. Hunter Brown, the stuff plus is very, very encouraging through his first few starts here in the major leagues. 106 stuff plus, pitching plus of 103. He's got an expected area of 3.7 going up against Patrick Sandoval, who, has always been around a 4 ERA type pitcher for his career. And the stuff plus on him is also pretty encouraging as well. The pitching plus on him is very encouraging as well, sitting around 100. So 2 decent starting pitchers on the mound. The Angels have been good against left-handed pitching, not very good against righties. So I think this is a decent spot here, and I only project 7.8 runs. So I like under 8.5 in Astros Angels.
I'm a bit higher on that total, but I certainly agree with your sentiments and your feelings on the 2 respective starting pitchers. I have a few other bets that I paired together in first 5 parlays, just slight edges. The Diamondbacks to minus 195, the Guardians to minus 190, the Pirates to minus 175, and the Mariners to minus 155. I think all of those lines are parlayable with one another. up to around a 1% edge compared to where I have them projected. Do not go crazy. I paired the early games together and the late games together. We're just going to keep things very simple and entertaining on this short slate, but we're not going to go and force bets. We're going to make sure we have an edge when we're playing them. And the reason why I put these first 5 lines together at smaller edges sometimes, I tend to do better projecting first 5 lines than I am over the full game. You feel much more confident that I'm accurately projecting those because I know exactly which pitchers are in. So when I can compound the edges together, even if it's a smaller edge, don't mind taking a smaller risk and shooting those at plus money. That will do it for me and BJ, though, for Monday's slate, an 11-game short slate. Not too many bets from either of us, but hopefully you can cash those tickets. We will be back on Tuesday morning. Best of luck with your bets.